Hello everyone and welcome to another video. It is Francesco here. Welcome to Keep Productive. If you are brand new here, it'd be great to have you as a subscriber. And obviously we do loads of different project management, task management, and note-taking application reviews. So please do become a subscriber. So here we go. We are diving into Monday.com today. We're diving into the 2019 edition, overviewing some of the features, abilities, pricing, and our opinion on who this is most suitable for. So just before we begin, Monday.com is a project management software. It's been valued only recently at 1.5 billion, over 1.5 billion, which is pretty hefty. So this is an application that's, I guess, making waves in the space. And we will be using the free trial today and we'll be on the standard plan. Now, I think it's always good to start with the pricing. But just before we do, if you'd like discount codes or actual coupon codes, then you can go in the description below and find our latest pricing option on Monday.com. This will probably make the pricing a little bit cheaper, so I applaud you to check it out. So you can go here to the upgrade section and you can see here that there are loads of different options. This is the thing I'd say that's probably the most complicated thing about Monday.com is the pricing. So they have 4 different plans from basic, standard, pro, enterprise, and you've got a range of different abilities. Now, the complicated thing, the thing where it gets a little bit trickier is you've got different options for example, how many users you've got in your plan. And you also have a yearly and 2-yearly plan as well as a monthly plan. So you're going to have to spend a bit of time, sit down, understand the pricing before you actually go in, because obviously it's going to be different. And you're going to be paying a different price. So everyone's going to be paying a different price. That's probably the good news. So the basic plan includes unlimited boards. All of the accounts do. You've got Kanban view and 5 gigabytes of storage, which is plenty. The standard plan has a lot more. You've got the boards, the Kanban view, and the timeline, calendar map, advanced set search, and form customization. And Pro includes all of that and goes into more detail with the time tracking and charts, as well as the formula columns, and way more integrations and automations. So it's really handy to actually check out what each one of them offer and whether it's most suitable for your company. So let's dive into the actual features. We'll talk about the opinion at the end in terms of who this is most suitable for. So you can see here, this is the inbox. So you can actually see all of the company updates here. So you can see all of the updates that stream through, for example here, like this was an invitation message from Roy, but any message from your team will be available through here and you can tick them off and you can see any open tickets and it's almost like an inbox, like an email inbox. Now you've also got a My Week area. This is great for when we add a lot more to the boards areas and start planning and plotting out, but you can scrabble through the weeks, like what you actually did that week, what you've got planned this week, and you can even filter down per person if you and your team want to do so. So that's quite handy. You can essentially see what's coming up for the week. But the real Pierre de la Resistance is the boards area. This is where I guess the majority of the magic happens inside of your Monday.com account. Now, before we dive in, I will be generally using this, so I'll show you around all the features, but I'm using this with Alice, so I can go to users and see that Alice is here. So I'll be assigning a few things to her today. You can invite users up here as well. You can manage security, API billing, and even stats. So for example, how much storage you've used on your account, how much other people has been given access to. So you can obviously find out all your details there if you need to. And using the settings page, you can actually import data and connect up with integrations. So that's really good news. So let's dive into the different boards. So you can create 3 types of boards. And the 3 types of boards are main, so they're the general boards you'll be creating for all of your team to access. Shareable boards, these are ones that will be public facing or go out to, for example, clients or guests. And also private. So this is handy for if you're creating boards for yourself. Maybe you want to see like your own to-dos for the week. But they should appear here. But if you wanted to create your own to-do list separately, then you can do that down here. Maybe we'll do that near the end. But let's go ahead and create a main board. So you can create a new board or a new folder. This is helpful for organization. But we need to actually create a board for planning our quiz. So we're actually planning a quiz feature for Keep Productive, which will allow you to sort of drill down what application is most suitable for you. So you can use and start from scratch using the templates, and that's really easy to do so. You just have to press use and you'll get this sort of basic setup. Or you can go with like anything here. We're going to go with a single project, but you can see here there are loads of different options. And what's great is you can preview all of this and see if it's suitable. And you can scroll through, for example, like this is a social media schedule, like that's really handy. You've got campaign tracking, project management, A/B testing. So they're really designed and set up for each different department. Like HR, you want to see job recruitment and who's progressing, then you can do so right here. And you can use those templates quite easily. There are quite a few of them. And I quite like that. That options of templates is always a good thing to have. So now we've created this sort of quiz feature that we're planning. Here we are inside of a new board. So once you've created a board, you can add a description. For example, this is for a new feature on Keep Productive. So you can add a nice little sort of introduction description. You can see what integrations are connected, what automations, who's actually invited to the board. So you might want to get started inviting people. So I'm going to invite Alice to this board. And you can make them an admin as well if you want to, an owner of the board. And you can see there she's been invited to this board, which is great. So if I go up here, I can see the activity of the board. Obviously no activity really to get started, but you can see real intricate, like, okay, I changed this to this and any updates that the board holds for the team. So up here, obviously you can change the view options. So for example, I can see it in a table view. That's what we're viewing it as now. A timeline view, which is a standard account or standard pricing function. So just remember that. The Kanban and the calendar. Calendar again is a pricing view function. Chart and map are pro functions. So you can start to see the pricing is a little bit complicated if you're on the free trial to understand which one you need to go for. But just remember, I guess in the free trial, you can play around with everything. I believe you're on the pro experience, at least for the trial, so you can get a full understanding of it. So brilliant news, we're on the table, and you can see here the table is below us. You've got sort of different, it's quite cool, I guess, to some extent, because you can like create different tables for different areas. So in this case, we're going to have like, okay, we're going to have an area for research and the tasks that need to be done for research. I can change the color and everything changes, which is nice. I'm going to have an area for design because obviously we need to design the quiz, and I'm going to change the color on that one. And we're going to have sort of, I guess, the information on what we need to do for the release. So let's have that there. Oh, I didn't mean to click into that task. So here we are. Let's start with this area here. So these are called groups. So you can collapse a group, which essentially hides it away. But what you can do is open it up pretty quickly, and you can move the groups between statuses. So for example, if you wanted to move like it to the bottom or to the top, you can do so. And down here, you can start adding tasks. And I'd say it's a little bit complicated when you get started because you're probably quite confused at how this works because you've used maybe Trello or Asana, and this looks a lot different. But once you get your head around it, I think it's a lot easier to manage. So in this case, we're going to say, okay, I'm going to research other online quiz tools. So that might be a task that's an awfully titled task. You can add an owner to it. So these are the pre-created columns that they have. You can add a status to it. In this case, you can choose some of the pre-selected ones, although you can go and edit. So if you wanted a new label, you can add the color. So yellow, you could say almost there. That could be a genuine status. But in this case, I want to keep with working on it. And you can change how long it's going to take you. Now, the one thing to note is when you click into the timeline view, it goes ahead and automatically creates a new view for you. So you'd have to scroll to the other view if you'd like to see that. So that's just something to note. So as you can see, research other online tools. That's me. I'm currently, actually I need to sort of do. So maybe I need to create a new area called do. So we're going to go down here. I'm going to call it to do. And there we go. Actually, I'm going to add it up here, to do. So we're going to give it a select to do. And we're going to give it a bit of a due date. So in this case, it's not actually going to take me too long. So I'm going to say the 2nd to the 6th. So it's quite handy, especially when you're sort of planning out tasks, and we'll actually show you how that works when you're sort of coordinating other tasks. So you can see here that I've got my sort of task get going, but what you can do is add a new column, and you can add a new column on a load of different property types. You can add a new status one, text one, the people who are involved, the timeline, the date, and also tags, numbers, and there are some more columns that you can choose from. Now there's almost like a marketplace for the columns that you can add. So these are all the basics, but you can add, for example, a checkbox, whether it's been completed. You can add a link, world clock, anything like literally voting, progress tracking. So in this case, maybe I just want to see, let's say I want to get a checkbox in there. Let's keep it quite simple. So if I press add to board, you can see that it appears there. So when I check it off, it actually completed that task, which is perfect. So I could, if I didn't necessarily want to use this one, I could go up here and I could go ahead and delete this column if I didn't find it suitable. So that's how you can modify your account to improve it. So let me go ahead and add a few tasks and sort of populate this area. Okay, so I've added a few tasks here, and I've even added Alice as an owner of one of these tasks. But one of the things that I noticed whilst doing this is, for example, if I wanted to just have a very simple due date for this one, I could remove the column that I had for the timeline view and actually just use this one as a due date view. So I could, for example, see, oh, okay, I've got all of this data, and I can set a due date to it. And I can even change the title of the column to actual due date there. So that's a really simple hack that you can do, and you can start ticking stuff off, which is really easy to do so. So you can obviously add relevant stuff for the design and all of that, which is great. So as you can see, you can start to see a bit of an outline of all of the due date tasks. Now let's just pause here and go back to my week. Now my week, for example, if I go to next week, I should see that I'm starting to get a few tasks that are populating, and you can see the quiz feature in the research section. So you can see that upcoming, I've got some tasks going. So that's really handy, because what I can do is then I can start to see assignments that I've got on for the week. And again, I can see the people that it filters down to, and I can even add, for example, Alice to see her ones. So in this case, I could see all of our ones, or I could just see mine only. So that's quite a handy feature to have. Now obviously when you're adding new tasks, you can add a new group of tasks. So if I were to add a new group of tasks, it create this brand new section, or I can import tasks as well, or just add a new task and it will go to the top of the page. Now if I want to, I can go ahead and delete the or archive the group that I just created. But in this case, I can obviously modify all details. I can duplicate the group, I can move group to another board, which is really handy. So if I'm looking to filter down, I can actually go up here and filter between specific groups, the owners. So if I want to see design tasks, or sorry, research tasks that are selected for me only, that haven't been completed, that are due next week, then I can see all of those tasks. So that filter options is actually really handy, and I can go ahead and clear that. And I can save those filters as a new view, which is something that not many applications allow you to do. So say down here, I wanted to start adding that timeline column, and let me explain how the timeline column works. I want to say design core layouts, and then I want to say design marketing page as two tasks inside of the design group. So I want to say these are for me times 2, and I want to add, for example, in this case, I want to go ahead and change or add a timeline. So there we go, timeline appears. So you may see there that if you want to add a new group, it obviously gets created inside of all the groups that you've got. So I might want to go ahead and keep these instead of going ahead and deleting them. So let's say I knew this was going to take a little bit of time. So if I drill down, so I'm in year view at the moment, if I drill down to week view, I can see that design core layouts might take a few weeks. So I can see there 11 days appears, which is really handy. So if I go into day view, I can obviously go in and see a bit more detail. So I can say, Okay, that looks like it's going to start there. But the good thing is, any of the due dates that appear that had a date associated to them that is fixed appear inside of here. So this one with the due date, August 6th, appears inside of this window. Now, if I want to add any, I can do so, and I can even go on week and month view. Now here I can also split the view if I want. And this is quite handy, and this is probably what you've seen on the adverts, is you can see all of the sort of what's coming up inside of the top view. So if I go to the main table, I can now see that actually pop up at the top, and I can still modify it, which is quite nice. So I can actually be able to manage my own sort of layout and what's coming up in this view, which is perfect. And I can even start ticking them off. Now, if I want to, I can export that to Excel, see it in full screen view, and that's quite handy because if I want to see it as a separate view, I can. I can even go into settings in terms of whether I want to see it in Gantt mode, which is a bit easier on the eyes, I'd say. And also you've got an item list as well, and you can also organize that based on due date or timeline. So that's quite handy. So that's really easy to do and really easy to access. So if I go over to the main timeline view, obviously that doesn't come up now because I've taken it off the split screen view. But if I wanted to add another view, for example, a Kanban view, I can do so. So you can start by adding a column. Okay, so here we are in the Kanban view. It has obviously associated the status as what column it should select. So as you can see here, it's selected that there. So if I go over to the main table and I were to add a status, for example, this could be working on it. I'm working on it and I'm stuck, or Alice is stuck on that. And let's say I've done that and I'm working on this. Then what I could do is go back to this Kanban view, and you can actually change the title there. Accidentally selected that one. You can actually go in and see this as a Kanban view. And if I click in, I can see all of the relevant details there. I can divide it by the groups. So for example, if I wanted to see Kanban view per group, I can do so. So that's a really neat way to organize that. And obviously, if you have a status already, it will pre-select everything automatically. Now let's go and show you the calendar view, because I think this is a nice addition. You can see the calendar view appears very similar to applications like Asana. You can view and organize the week and day. That's a bit different to Asana. You don't actually get the drill down as much as that week and view. You only get month view in Asana, I believe. And the week is handy because you could potentially go ahead and add a new task and even time block to some extent. So you could say, 11 a.m. on on today, 11:30 apparently. I could say plan quiz launch. And then what I could do is I could change the group it's available in. So I'm going to say that's in did I say it's in marketing? Yes, I did. And I can add an owner, which is myself. I can add a due date. So in that case, that's a start date really. But you can change that where you find suitable, and even add a status to it as well. So I could say working on it. So that's a quick way to create a group. If I were to go back to the main table, you could see that appears down here quite easily. So we're going to go ahead and create a second board to give you a bit of an idea. But before we do, obviously we'll show you some of the board abilities. So you've got the ability to add group, rename board, change the board permissions, change board subscribers. Board permissions is quite easy. What access do they have per user, where they can edit everything, or per column, which is quite good. So that's almost a good way to lock everything. You can use this board as a template. So if you want to save that as a template, you can do. You can connect up with calendar integrations like Google Calendar, which is a perfect sync if you want to set due dates. You can also see archive tasks, archive this board, and even export this table to Excel. So let's go ahead and create a bit of more of an intricate board, and let's call this one the Keep Productive Summit. Let's say we're going to create our own event soon, and let's go ahead and create this as a board. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the event planning one if there's an event planning section. The one thing you can't do, I notice, is you can't search. So it's a bit of a pain, but I guess there you go, announcements and events. That's more for education. So let's try and find one that, matches best criteria. Okay, so what I had to do is, in order to do office operations, event planning, I use a Command F to search the events. So there we go, I've got an event one, so I can start planning some events that we've got coming up. So if I was like, okay, events, and I could start planning using this board. So what I could do is here I could say, open this one up and actually see the details of it. But if I didn't want to, I could go to type in summit, and that's a conference. I could start adding the attendees. And what's quite nice down here is you can select the formula to get started with all of these. So in this case, I might say, what's the average, what's a medium? But in this case, I want to select the number of attendees, and I can change it to the pricing and availability. So that's a really simple way to go ahead and create a brand new board for a new area. Obviously, you can change it into different views. So in this case, I might want to add timeline view because there's already some properties selected. In this case, the summit appears here. So that's quite a cool and neat way to do it. Now, you're probably wondering the sharing abilities of each of these. So if I go back to the main view or the main table, I can go to the top and I can actually access the board permissions. Okay, so one of the things you're probably wondering is, how do I start conversations? And that's very simple. You just press start conversation, which is the comment bubble, and you can start writing updates to your team in any format, in checklists and all that sort of jazz, adding files, GIFs, and mentions. Now you can also add Q&As here and add files and add notes specifically to the task, and see an activity log, as well as filtering who did what and when. And that's quite a handy layout. Now, if I wanted to set up integrations as well, there are so many different integrations at work. If I wanted to, for example, set up a Slack integration that changed, like updated you when a priority went higher than it did inside of a Slack bot, you can connect it with loads of different applications, including Asana, Basecamp, if you've got an existing application. You've got Todoist coming up soon. You've got MailChimp and so much different more. And they're almost like setting up Zapier integrations inside of there. You've got some automations, so you can set up automations based on, for example, if you go to due date, when a date arrives, the status is something else. So that might be helpful for when you're setting up your account. Now, what I would recommend Monday.com for is more for those who are looking for a much more advanced workflow than many others. So for example, if you're keen on using like Asana for being able to organize basic projects, then that's probably going to be best for you. But when it comes to actually taking advantage of your own workflow, these different sort of like custom fields, because that's basically what Monday.com is built around, custom fields and even templates, I think this is going to be a really nice setup for you. Now, obviously, Asana doesn't have that many automations. It does have a lot of integrations, but they sort of match it on integration side of stuff. So this is really suitable, I would say, more for like 15-person plus teams that are looking to really set up a intricate workflow. The one thing I'd recommend is going to the Monday.com YouTube channel and actually searching some of their webinars that they do, or at least the tours they do of their account, because before investing money into this application, I'd make sure it's right for you. I used it previously with Simplify Days, so I'll switch between accounts and show you if I still have access. Don't still have access. I used it with Simplify Days previously, which is run by Barbara Fuller, and I actually found it really easy to use. And we were always updating stuff pretty smoothly. Sadly, I can't show you inside of that account, but I'll try and find time to do a video if I manage to get access. But anyway, guys, that is a tour of Monday.com. If you want a coupon code or access to it, please do check out the link in the description. If you're new to Keep Productive, please do subscribe, and we plan to do more project management review features. Hopefully that gave you a bit of an outline to all of the features of Monday.com, at least inside of these sort of basic edition. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. I will talk to you guys in a future video, and have a fantastic day. Cheers, everyone.